It's 5:30 and time to call this work session of the Fort Smith Public Schools Board of Education to order. We welcome any members of the public who are with us this evening. Citizen participation takes place at regular board meetings, and the next one is scheduled for May 20th at 5:30 p.m. at the auditorium in Building B of the Service Center. If you would like to address the board at that time, please see Mrs. Brooks. Where is she?
I'm back here.
Okay, here she is. Our first item is going to be recognitions. Dr. Brubaker.
Sure, and I'll ask Ms. Featherston to lead us in this. We've got kind of an exciting event. I don't know how many of you watch AETN, but some of our kids were recognized for their work with the student store. So
Let's go ahead and show that. We've got it.
we're going to show the AETN clip.
As students become involved with Grizzly Gear, they develop tools that will lead them into the next part of their life. The students are involved in every aspect of running the store. They are the cashiers, they maintain the inventory room, they sweep the floor, they take out the trash, they design the window displays.
There's so many students who come into this program and they know they want to go to college, but they don't know what they're good at. There's so many things that you can do and you're just not stuck to one option. For the schools that don't have a program like this, please get one. Can't tell them how much school spirit, how much school love and school participation is just put into this store. I thought I wanted to do nursing since the 7th grade, and just this one year, I realized I have so much other talents that I didn't even know I had. So this is just amazing.
Northside, Grizzly Gear, you guys come on up and have recognition. Board members and Dr. Brubaker, we have one group to recognize tonight, but it highlights a triple victory. Northside High School's Grizzly Gear has earned their 7th consecutive gold level certification, guided by their advisors Melinda Briscoe and Cece Holloman, Anna Cobb, Lorena Senabaria, Paul Pham, Mohammed Abdul Rahim, and Kayla Jenkins operate the small business operation project known as Grizzly Gear. These students do everything from merchandising to sales and marketing and everything in between. They design the window displays, manage inventory, and operate the store. In addition, Grizzly Gear has also earned first place for business operations at the school store point of sale competition by the high school point of sale company. With this first place prize, the team received $1,000. Their project included paid Facebook posts, Cub Nation t-shirt promos, pop-up sales, and logo branding. This team includes Mohammed Abdul Rahim, Kayla Jenkins, David Kramer, Tiara Gray, Derek Wise, Justin Maymonok, Sierra Thompson, and Yargi Lira. Finally, you've just seen the Grizzly Gear promo piece. It was recently featured on AETN's Cool Schools digital series. This is a series that celebrates Arkansas schools and teachers showing how they are unique. Congratulations, y'all.
I have a Grizzly Gear outfit on.
Not only a fan, also a
That
customer,
fan
right?
has the best box. She's a good customer too. Very good customer.
That concludes tonight's recognitions.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Behind those students is a great teacher and great teachers, motivating. So thank you so much. The next thing is another exciting recognition. It's a presentation of our robotics.
Okay. I'll ask our folks from Cook to come up and introduce themselves and their students. And we will ask you to use the mic.
I'm Leslie Brody. I am the K-12 science coordinator for the district. And recently we've had the opportunity to add a rigorous robotics program to 10 of our elementary schools. So this is our first pilot year. So we're going to start with 10. Each school was provided all the materials they would need to compete at a regional competition sometime in the fall. And those competitions will begin somewhere around the 1st of September and go through mid-December. And then we will take our time and build our fourth graders up and get them prepared for the next year competition after we go compete at a state level, because we know we're going to go to state for sure. So, and we've asked Cook, I asked Miss Hart from Cook to bring some of her rock star students, because these kiddos have been doing robotics for a couple of years now, right? So she was writing grants prior to this to get those things in her school. And so these kids are on their, some of them are first year and some of them are second year students. They've also been involved in VEX robotics in addition to our Lego League competition that will be starting this year. So Ms. Hart.
Hi, I'm Allison Hart from Cook Elementary. This is our second year with robotics. We did a robotics club last year. This year we tried to start a VEX competition team. We had a little snafu with the ordering, back orders and stuff, and these are the students who tried out and made the VEX team. We were not able to compete. The VEX system had some issues with back ordering, like I said. So they have built a robot and coded a robot to show to you. We have Jazzy, Eliza, Jake, and then Aaron, and they have a little something to say before they show you the robot.
This is the color sorter. It sorts colors and categories in which you want it to go. So whenever you start it, you can match it in colors. And for instance, we would have red, yellow, and blue for our colors. And whenever you mix them up, the color sorter will sort them in the categories it's supposed to go.
If you're wondering what this would do in real life, in a larger scale, for example, like at Walmart, if once the clerk's done checking out the items, they could just put it on the conveyor and the machine will just do its own job by finding what color, what category, like fruits, vegetables, others, and it would sort it into each bag if the customer wanted it sorted into each bag for any special occasion.
It took about 3 hours to build, about 3 hours, and we had to improvise because a few of the pieces had been gone and missing, so we had to improvise.
My name is Jake Taylor. I went to VEX and robotics because I could figure out how they could work and how I might have a future in that.
I was so proud of them. They were all a little nervous. But the reason I started the robotics club was because I want the students to be prepared for the future. We are sending our students into a world where robots and coding is part of everyday life, everything we do. And this is just a great way to have fun with that and put it all together. And so I think they're going to demo the robot for you.
I bet they're not this class, are they?
No.
You're so smart. Can you tell us what you're doing right now?
It's just booting up. And just, like the red would go in the right, or I guess your left, the yellow in the middle, and blue for the beginning. And it's got to load.
Hey Aaron, could you tell us about the different parts of the robot that you get going? Some of the components and what they do?
Hold the mic a little closer.
And then maybe turn around so we can see.
The this piece right here is the scanner for when you have the item, for example, red. If you want to scan it, you would put it here, and then it will have an arrow pointing to over here, so you can put it in. This piece will, it'll load it into the machine, and once it's all done with the, like, once all of the pieces are done scanning, it will finish in here, and it will go to each cup, and once it's done with each thing, it'll go back and to its memory, and then remember what is next to it.
More animated when I was with them last week. They were telling me every item at Walmart that they were scanning, and so they were talking about bananas and blueberries and apples and tomatoes.
Is there a chip in the pieces that you're scanning?
No, ma'am. They're just.
It's just viewing it.
It's, yes, it's just 2 Lego pieces clipped together. It's reading the color.
Okay.
Program has 4 colors, and the coding came with 4 colors, and our robots wasn't quite liking 4 colors, and they were able to troubleshoot and solve and work through the process and pull out the code and fix it and rework it for just the 3 colors.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did they actually put the robot, did you guys put the robot together?
Yes.
You did?
That took the most time.
Yeah.
How much time did it take you to put it all
About
together?
2 days.
Well,
2 or 3 days.
It was 2 days because we only came in at a certain time, so probably 3-4 hours total.
Okay. And what was the most challenging part of putting it together?
It was trying to get it to work. The code was not working right. Like Ms. Hart, she said that there was a 4th color, the green. It would not go with all the other colors. I guess the machine just couldn't figure out if it was one or the other color. We just had to get it to work.
When
You did that. When did they meet?
They meet once a week after school. When they were building Vex, they met for an hour and a half, and then just the robotic club is for an hour after school once a week.
What day? I mean, I'm thinking I want to. I'm so impressed.
Well, we're finished for the year. We have wrapped up right before testing started. But the Vex meets one day. They met on Mondays, and robotics met on Wednesdays.
So when you think about things like critical thinking and problem solving,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about y'all, but to get a group of young people engaged in something for 4 hours, a couple hours at a time, that's
Yeah.
really exciting.
Are you getting some of your friends to join the club or get involved?
All of my friends are mainly just in 6th grade, and this is my last year, so they can't do this. But at my school, I'm going to Ramsey. I think there's a robotics club there, so if I ever get a chance to tell them, I'd happily get them to go for it.
So are we connecting the students with the next grade?
Ms. Brody is.
Yes, we will. Right now, at Ramsey, I think they run their program primarily through the GATE program. that we will be working towards, making those transitions over, the next year or so. So, and I think the plan is gonna be for us to host our own district kind of level competition over the next year. So hopefully within the next year, we'll have all the knowledge we need to be able to host one as a district as well.
On the GATE program, the GATE program is really selective.
Mhm.
Are we looking at any ways to expand this beyond just the GATE program?
Yes. Yeah, I would wholeheartedly think that would be our next steps, is to move forward, right, Dr. Brubaker, that we would be building this program beyond 5, 6. And this competition that they'll be going to is a 5, 8 grade band. So I do see that as an option in our near future, for sure.
I just look at a student like Aaron, in that whether he qualifies for GATE or not, if he has a passion for something
Right.
like this, we should not stop the process for him or other students. So how can we make sure that that doesn't happen?
Well, we're just getting started, so it's a matter of just continuing to provide the equipment and the support and the services so that.
I challenge the district to make sure that Aaron does not get left behind in the process. And I say that just because he was engaged, he was answering questions and all, like all the rest of them. But if we have a student that already acknowledges some of their friends are not engaged, but they are, what can we do, even if it's not a formal program, to keep that learning going?
A lot of them are friends in the robotics program. The moving up and over to the competition team is, kind of just like with basketball, it's in the other sports. It's intense, and you have to go through a tryout process and actually win your spot, just like you go through a tryout for the sports. And so that's kind of where some of the friends, you get them into robotics, but then they, just not quite make it. But we still at Cook do the robotics and the competition so that everybody has a chance.
I have a question. Did you ladies do the programming as well? Did you help program it and debug it?
Yes.
What kind of, I do software development, so I was curious what kind of tool, would you know what kind of language it was that you were using? How did you program it?
So when we code, what do we call that language? Blockly.
Block?
So they put in Blockly, yes sir.
Oh, Blockly.
They when you code, you put together an algorithm. If you've never heard the big word of algorithm before, what I tell the students at Cook is that it is a list of procedures. You have to do everything in order correctly, or you don't get something done. If you brush your teeth and you forget to pick up your toothbrush, you don't have a mess everywhere. But so the robot has to have it in the correct order, and that's what they did when they took out the green. Something in the code for green just wasn't quite working, and they had to pull that out and find that that's what the problem was, to pull that out and let the robot continue with its program. When you're working with your computer or the checkout at Walmart and it doesn't know what you're doing, it's because you have inputted some step that it does not like and it doesn't understand. And it's problem solving, like Dr. Brubaker said. They have to think multiple steps, and all of this ties into everything we teach them, from their math word problems that they've got to open response answers to their inferring and reading, and it really makes them think harder, and not just with the coding, but all of their academics.
And every bit of this was student-built, student-driven. So Ms. Hart is great about setting back and letting them do the problem solving for themselves. And so when I was there watching them, they were looking at different size pieces and they were having to look at measurements. And as they were saying it, well, if this didn't work, it wasn't the right color that the kit called for, can we substitute? And so they were doing measurements and lengths, and so there's it's so it has a bit of everything in it. When they do this, they have to learn how to speak to one another, communicate in a group. So all those 21st century skills, in addition to their math skills, their science skills, their problem solving, engineering design, it's all there.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that this is the beginning of the program, but let's say that there's not really an interest in this. I know that a lot of them had built some kind of robotic hand.
Yes.
So let's say, again, nobody's like, okay, we're not gonna really pay attention to this because it's like just something to phase. Would the children be able to come to the school board meetings like every month and present a different project so you guys can see like this is something we really need to invest in?
So I want to make sure I understand your question. If there's not interest from the adults or not interest from the
School
children,
board.
from the school board, I feel like they're a little interested and passionate about it already. They're trying to make sure we take care of Aaron. But the rest of the question, I guess, is for them.
Sure. This is a place where we're beginning, where we're starting, and we're always interested in bringing more things to our students. But this is the beginning. So thank you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you and the great work that you're doing.
Well, you know, I know it took you all 3 to 4 hours, but I wonder how many hours the teacher put behind this. We appreciate your extra hours after school and everything.
I enjoy doing it. They're worth it.
You could tell. But anyway, all 4 of y'all were great. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is to consider parents as teachers partnership with the United Way of Fort Smith. I'm going to add a little side note to that. I don't know if any of you all remember Ann Dawson, Bob Dawson's wife. She's the one that started this program, and it has continued to be a success. So, Dr. Brubaker?
Yes, ma'am. And to our guests, I know that it's a school night and so forth. We've got some things that probably are not quite as engaging as robots and recognitions of kids. So it's not going to hurt our feelings if you feel like you have to step out, but just wanted to share that with you. We'll just soldier on through. So this is an item, board members, that you've seen before. In past years, Fort Smith Public Schools has maintained a partnership with United Way of Fort Smith for a number of years. As a recognized agency of United Way, the Parents as Teachers program must receive school board approval to receive grants in support of the Parents as Teachers program. This year's allocation is $35,000. So the administration recommends that the board accept the allocation to support the Parents as Teachers program during the 1920 school year. If the board agrees, the motion would read, move to accept the allocation for $35,000 to support the Parents as Teachers program during the 2019-20 school year.
Are there any questions or discussion? This item is going to be brought back as an action item on our May 20th board meeting.
It's an impressive program. I very much appreciate that we invest beyond the classroom and into the homes as
Yeah,
well.
it seems very successful. The next item on our agenda is to consider adopting the student-related policy changes for the second reading, Section 4, updated with changes. Dr. Brubaker?
Yes, ma'am. So I'll ask Mr. Lays, who's here and Mr. Nye is here as well, to talk about some of the changes to Section 4, which is the student section. Had some good discussion last time, and we've gone back and reviewed that and made some changes that we think meet the needs that were expressed at that point.
Rather than read them to you, you've seen the red line versions. Do you want me to read those to you? Okay, you've seen the red lines. A couple of those were things that we thought we had fixed and we found again. And 2 of the changes were, of course, the ones that were discussed in the last meeting.
Yeah, I thought the red lines were good.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just learned that this week. I'm kind of excited about it. It's a good tool. I held on as long as I could to strike through.
It's okay, I'm learning about robotics for the first time.
So,
Do we need a motion, or are we gonna do that?
well, it'll come back, since this is the work session, it'll come back at the meeting on the 20th.
Are there
Okay.
any questions or discussion?
No.
Again, thank you, Mr. Lays. and this item will be brought back at the board meeting on May 20th. The next item to consider is the special education statements of intent for 2019 and 2020. Dr. Brubaker?
Yes, Ms. McFerrin, this is another one of those annual approvals. The 2019-2020 statements of intent and the accompanying assurances and agreements for both preschool-age children and school-age children are attached for review and approval. The district must submit these forms on an annual basis to verify that our district budgets expend state and federal funds to provide a program of services in accordance with federal and state guidelines. The administration recommends that the board approve the 2019-2020 statements of intent and the accompanying assurances and agreements for both preschool-age children and school-age children. And Dr. Hauser is here tonight to answer any questions. You have any? She asked if they'd be easy ones, but...
No, I wasn't saying that. It's not doctor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Hauser. Okay, I apologize.
Are there any questions or discussions for Ms. Hauser?
Thank you.
If not, the item will be brought back as an action item for our May 20th board meeting. The next item on the agenda is to consider the approval of the 2019-2020 Board of Education meeting schedule. Dr. Brubaker?
Yes, ma'am. So for the last couple of years, we've staked out a meeting schedule for the year, and we've attached a draft for this year. Regular board meetings, you'll notice, have not been scheduled on student holidays this year. The idea there was that we would have a student holiday, but then we'd recognize students and we'd recognize staff members. So be better if we didn't on those days. So we tried to avoid those this year.
I was going to recommend that too, that we double check that. So
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So any questions about those? And you'll notice that for the sites of those meetings, for the work sessions, there's not a location identified. I wanted to get a sense from the board as to whether you'd like to continue to meet at schools.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
The only change that I could see is we've been invited to the Med Center out at Chaffee Crossing, and I noticed on the July 8th meeting, it's a work session. If we can consider maybe meeting there, maybe at 5 o'clock, 4:45, a little bit earlier. Kyle Parker would like to take us around, quick view, and I thought we can kill two birds with one stone. Go to the Med Center, do a tour, and have a brief meeting, if that's okay with everyone.
That's fine with me.
I don't think that takes a vote. I think we just say.
And that's the June meeting?
It would be, Ms. Cole, it would be July the 8th, the very first one listed.
Okay.
And it says this, the hearing room, but if we could have that out at the Med Center, and I'll verify that too.
The June, okay.
July 8th.
July.
We already have June scheduled.
I'll be on.
You will be out?
Yeah.
Okay. We may not change the whole schedule
I'll
for
be
you,
on.
Mr. Gilkey, but...
No, I don't blame you. Don't tell me. No, I'm just saying.
If there's
I
several
thought
of
it-
them.
I thought going to the
No.
health hospital sounded fun, and then.
We may do the June meeting, we don't know, but right now,
Okay.
we'll make that change. I'll work with Ms. Brooks on that one.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is the presentation of the Vision 2023 Capital Improvement Program. Dr. Brubaker?
Yes, ma'am. So tonight, Dr. Morosky and HPM team and our architects have have a presentation for you with an update based on some of the projects they've been working on. Who do I hand the mic to?
I'm really just handing the mic, but we do we have some great updates tonight, and you'll hear a lot of the feedback we've received from the board and also from our building committees. You'll see that reflected in the work that we've done. A lot of activity related to design and starting to get the construction process rolling. So we're excited to show this to you and get some feedback on some of the projects. So here's Steve Sparling from HPM.
Thank you, sir. Well, good evening. Just a few updates. We're going to go through a few design options, but a few orders of business first on some of the projects that we've already have designed and tendered up for bid. So take a peek here. Rough agenda. We're going to talk about the security package, which is actually the first project that we've sent out to the public, to the local contractor base for bidding, and we had a really good response for that. And then we'll go into the construction manager at risk for a request for qualifications that we asked for and have received back that are currently under evaluation for the two big projects on campus. And then we have design updates for Northside High School, the gym, Southside High School, renovations and additions, and then a little bit about the Career Technical Center. So, as we've discussed before, we have the first 4 security projects that went out for the elementary schools. These projects focused on data security, access, doors, frames, hardware, things of that nature. We submitted these out to the contractor base for bids and received those bids back on April 16th, and we received 5 bids in total. All 5 were local contractors. The proposal ranged between $521,000 and up to $894,000. That $894,000 was an outlier. Most of the projects were within about 10%, or down the low range. Ware Construction of Fort Smith is the low bidder, the sum of $521,675. Southside High School, both of these next 2 slides are identical timelines, just different titles. We issued our request for qualifications for our construction manager at risks for the 2 major pieces of the work at the North and Southside High School. We received those responses back April 24th, and we received 6 responses. Various contractors, I believe we had 3 that had Fort Smith ties, and 3 that were just outside the region. Excuse me. All those responses are being evaluated right now by the team, and we're going to get to the short list this week, hopefully announcing interviews by the end of the week, and those interviews will take place over the next 2 weeks. So. Same for Mooreside. Morrison Elementary, this will be the next project that goes up for hard bid to the local community. We're currently waiting on the final sign-off from the state of Arkansas before we can advertise that for bids. But this will be one of the 2 projects that goes this summer. Excuse me, one of the 3 projects that goes this summer. Northside High School gym. As we've talked about in previous meetings, there's been concern about the water line in the street over here on 22nd Street. I'm not sure how well that red line shows up on the presentation from the crowd, but there's a current water line that we're going to end up having to abandon. If you recall last time, the gym didn't proceed out into the street, and so we were limited a little bit there. Since over the last couple of weeks, we've been in contact with the city, with engineering, and we've got that water line relocated. My pointer's not working, forgive me. So instead of going straight up the street, we're going to cut through these 2 pieces of property that is currently owned by the school and just reroute the line. That'll give us the ability to expand over to 22nd Street. Assuming that real estate there on 22nd Street has allowed us to modify the footprint a bit, as there were some comments before that looked a little squished, things of that nature, but we don't have that issue anymore. You've seen all these elevations before, but these are just a tad different on just some of the tweaks that.
Well, you know, I have to ask where the bear is.
It's coming. It's coming. It's
Just
coming.
wait. There it is.
There he is. I think at this point we talked. We might need to name this bear at this point. So suggestions we could take. So. There's the new first floor layout. The one thing you should notice is the orientation of the floor is 90 degrees different now. We also have the seats down from the student section all the way down to the floor side.
Yeah, I just want to say that looks so much better than that first layout.
The gentleman here, oh, right here, Brian Randall, good job.
Also enables the traffic for visitors or home team to kind of and go through the lobby instead of having to go all the way around, if you remember from the other design. So took all that into account.
This also allowed us to be more efficient with the design. The programming just worked a lot better with this configuration. Upper concourse. The lobby. From these interior photos from the floor, you should, if you remember from last time, the main structural members are 90 degrees different from where we were last time. Looks a lot better. Any questions on Northside High School?
Thank you for listening to the feedback.
Well, thank you for that feedback. That was very important to the team. So, next project for review: Southside High School renovations and additions. You know, from our committee meetings, we took that feedback that we talked about on Northside. We had the same feedback from several community members about the Southside. The last two meetings, we had two different options for you. We heard the comments. People, I'll change this, like that. Well, we have two more options for you. These two options are the results of the feedback we received. Option one, different perspective. Option two.
I like two.
I do too.
That's a much,
I'm looking at
blows
Ms. Miller.
much nicer.
Yes. Okay.
Who am I?
The
The committee voted for an entirely different one than me last
Yeah.
time.
You're only the principal.
Whatever they want,
Southside.
but I do like
Yeah.
two. I like that.
Two.
Okay.
I think it flows really pretty with the perspective that freshmen center
Thank
that
you.
we've seen.
Yes, thank you guys, and thank the TIS committee for all the input as well. This is the way the architectural process is supposed to work, right? We're not just bringing something and saying, take it or leave it. We actually went through the process and had a lot of iterations. Risley is here, the architectural firm, did a great job generating different options that were very different. You can see from the two options, they're very different. From what I'm hearing from this body, this option is the preferred option because it flows better. Heard that. Any other reasons this would be a preferred option?
I think it goes back to having an identity. When I was sitting in during the building groups,
Yes.
during the first discussion, everyone was concerned about the presentation, the drive-up
Right.
appeal, and creating an identity. I think this option does open it up. It's very dramatic, and it blends with, in my perspective, the rest of the building, blending the old with the new.
It's good to hear.
That's just my opinion.
That's good to hear. And you'll know, maybe last time you may remember we did have another comment?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
What's the material where the Maverick is? Is that
Yeah.
glass or is that?
Yes. And that would be at night very dramatic, lit from inside,
Okay.
like a glowing lantern.
So when you're inside, what's that room that's right there?
That's the vestibule where you check into the office.
Oh, okay. So
The
there's
security
not-
vestibule.
It's just, that's two-story.
It is a two-story
Vestibule,
volume,
right, okay.
but it steps down almost immediately to a one-story volume where it ties into the auditorium
Mhm.
lobby, and then
Okay.
also allows you access after hours just into the auditorium. We can lock off the main
Mhm.
school for
So we
those,
can have-
so we can have a condition, because if you've been to a function at the
Mhm.
auditorium, the lobby's really small.
It is.
So they'll be able to share this, which is a great bonus.
You point to what the two stories are, and see what it is for them.
Well, the next slide really shows that, I think, here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, you can see it just steps down almost immediately, and that's just your vestibule where you'd have the access into the reception to check in, but you also have the access into the auditorium all the way on the other side. So it's a really great solution, and it's an iteration. When we showed the first version of this, it was more of a tower, and some of the comments were, "Oh, it looks like Chafin," So they went back to the drawing board, literally. That is a thing. Go back to the drawing board
and came up with this option. And the bonus here, of course, is the covered at the curbside that you get for that drop-off function can handle a lot of people coming through there in that secure vestibule. This is the main entrance to the school. So.
That carries along, that canopy carries all the way.
So at this point, it steps back. This is a shade structure for those first floor windows in the administration, and this is your additional 6 classrooms on the second floor up there. And then this, really either option that we've shown you would complement very well Risley's scheme for the classroom edition. And you can see in a few weeks or at a future board meeting, we'll be bringing you an overall campus master plan that'll show all these elements together pending approval. We're going to proceed with that, and you can see how the materials tie together. The kind of sunshade that I said, the overhang provides that shade for those windows, but also picking up on the existing architecture of Southside, where you've got those thin little canopies that provide that shade on the windows. So it's a really nice blend of old and new, but it really does move the school forward into the 21st century. It was something we heard very clearly during even bond planning, village planning, was that we needed to move the school forward architecturally with these additions, and that we feel like this accomplishes that. Any other comments?
Thank you, Eric. Last on our agenda to discuss is the Career Technical Center. As you know, the current building is currently being donated to the school. Property transfer is pending. 2 weeks ago, we had kind of a mad dash to the sprint to get the EDA grant, the Economic Development Authority federal grant, turned in because they shortened our deadline by 2 weeks. And so a lot of people put a lot of hard work to get that grant out. And don't think we've heard anything back yet, but we're hopeful. Over the past week, we've given several tours of the facility. Superintendent Student Advisory Council gave tours of the facility, asked their feedback about what they thought we should do with the space, things of that nature. Superintendent's Communication Council and the Citizens Village Advisory Council, as well as Workforce Development.
Yeah, make a comment just really quickly.
Yes,
What I
sir.
think is kind of interesting about this is when you look at that, the tables are laid out as if they were in our auditorium over on Jenny Lind. It gives you a sense of the scale. It's really big.
It's really big.
Really, really big.
Yeah, I mean, I've driven by that building for, I've lived in Portsmouth my whole life, driven by it for 30 years. And, you think it's big, then you walk through it, and this scale on that is just, wow.
It's an amazing.
Of all 4 groups that toured, it seems like the kids had some of the most difficult questions. So there's some very bright students that go to the school.
Are they getting feedback from other students when you're coming forward with that? I mean, it's not just that select group coming with their
I think
ideas.
they talk to their.
So they're
they
talking to
talk
their
about how they
peers
talk to
and-
their friends and their parents, and
Good.
there's a lot of good discussion out there.
Definitely. It's definitely a focus point. So that's all I have. If anybody has any further questions? Thank you for your time.
That's where thank you just sounds so inadequate. I mean, we don't know what else to say, but thank you.
A lot of hard work,
It's just
a lot of
a
focus.
lot of long hours and hard work. If there's no other business to come before the board, we're adjourned.